Can you give someone new a second chance? Would you protect your heart? Would you share your space with someone that you didn't really know? All these questions that we have. Guys, Station 19, Episode 6, Last Day on Earth. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
You know, everybody's moving on this episode. Felt like this applies.
Guys, welcome back. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely I thought there was a lot of sadness this episode, and a lot of closed doors and perhaps open doors. We don't know. There was running away for sure. Guys, hi, I'm Linda Antwi. Welcome back to Station 19 After Show, and my lovely co-host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tsahai. I'm so happy to be here. And this episode was very sad, but we saw a lot of movement. I feel like people are moving in new directions.
I think that we have a lot of secrets, and I think that those secrets are starting to come out.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see more about the characters, which I absolutely love. So why don't we jump right in? But before we do, guys, we have a bunch of news and gossip for you. And as always, our fire facts. One of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ben right off the bat.
Ben, he's running away from his problems.
He really, literally was running away from his problems. And I was so sad for him. Like, I really wanted to cry. I had to keep it together because I wasn't watching alone. But I felt really sad for him. This actor really has nailed his sadness about the breakup with Miranda. And in his heart, I think he thinks it's done. Like, it's not just a sabbatical.
Well, he did say to Dean and Jack, like, you know, this is just temporary when he finally revealed it in the fire truck to them. So I think he's still holding out for hope. But a part of me doesn't want him to move on too quickly. Like, all this running, I don't want him to run away from Miranda. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he's running towards a resolution.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. But, however, I think that when he was telling them that it was only temporary, it was something that he was repeating. It wasn't something that I felt like he was believing. But we just don't know, and it's so sad. Why? I'm still stuck on that. Why? Why are we breaking these two up? It's awful. And then we could actually jump right into the call that they did. So the call that they did with the lady who had her hand stuck,
yes.
Hannah,
mm-hmm.
in the disposal, that call really was for Ben. So we jump to this. She has her hand in the disposal, and she's having a hard time with her daughter. But really, the hard time is about her wife being away,
right,
and her being scared about her wife being away, and not knowing when the wife is coming back, and the daughter acting up, and all the things that Ben is now having to face, which I thought was a really great tie-in. And I just felt bad because it almost felt like therapy. Ben was giving her encouragement, but her story was always also encouraging him.
I agree. I think the fears that she had mimicked some of the fears that Bailey had. And the fact that when the woman whose hand was stuck said, you don't realize how much you need your other half until they're not around. Mm-hmm. Both, I feel like Ben and Bailey are feeling that right now.
Yes.
I'm sure they miss each other, and he obviously does. I mean, he has blisters on his feet because he's just in so much emotional pain right now.
Yeah.
But what I love about this is that, you know, normally we see how hurt women are by breakups. So to see a guy really in pain from the loss of his marriage or the breakup of his marriage, it's very interesting to me to watch.
But you know what, and I agree with that too, but I think that guys do, they feel that same pain, they just hide it.
Right.
And we saw that in Ben in the beginning where he was really trying to hide it. Mm-hmm. And I think that he didn't actually really let it all out until, this moment was so beautiful when Dean just hugged him and you could see like the weight.
Yeah.
You know, this poor guy has been working day and night, and then this running and sleeping at the station.
Yeah, that was a powerful image because you don't often see men, much less black men, hug like that. And let their emotions go through them. So that was really, really powerful. Shout out to Shonda and Stacy on that one.
Go ahead, Stacy. Make it happen. You made me happy right there. Let's move on to talk about Vic and Ripley, because that was one of the opening scenes.
Yes.
Okay, so Vic needs to come all the way down as far as I'm concerned, because she knows she likes Ripley. She knows that she has feelings for him, because she wouldn't be running away against someone that's running away if she didn't care, because we've seen her before. We've seen her do the one and done. We've seen her with even the guy from Station 23 who's all of a sudden just out of the picture.
Right.
So you know that she has feelings, and I think what she's scared about is that that's not just her boss, it's her boss's boss.
Right.
And I thought that, wow, like when she was trying, and I won't jump ahead quite yet, but when she asked Jack for advice, and like, oh, you have an adult sleepover, and then the next morning you sneak out, like, what does that mean? And Jack says, well, it means that you don't like the person.
Right. And the fact that she was appalled by that, she's like, no, I don't want him to think that.
Yeah.
What I liked about the opening scene was literally seeing Vic's hair down. Like, we always see her hair like braided back. So to see her with her hair down, she let everything down for Ripley, hair and other things. So she really is open to this idea of what could happen. I think she's hesitant, but I think she's definitely open.
She wants it, but she's scared.
Yeah.
And I think that I hope that we see a lot more of her development and her relationship development. And I really actually like these two together. I think it'll be a really good position to have, because it's not just her boss, it's someone that she wants a relationship with, and she has tended to run away from relationships, at least from what we've seen in the last 2 seasons.
Right. But it's also kind of what's interesting about it, it's a little bit hypocritical because, everyone was upset when Andrea had a at-work romance. So technically this is another one, and it could definitely
The
cause
Andy Jack thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, everybody was up in arms about that one.
But they were only up in arms about it because the 3 girls are best friends.
Yeah.
And Andy never told them.
But everyone else at the station was like, it messed with their trust, So here it is, another workplace romance. I feel like workplace romance is always like, unless everybody knows from the start, it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. I think that it's about being honest and open, because especially with these firefighters where they spend all their time together, that they want to know that you're being open and honest because you have their backs.
Yep.
And you have their lives in your hands all the time. Let's talk about Sullivan.
Yes.
So what I thought was funny is that we see Sullivan and we see him do the roll call, and we see his strict attitude towards everyone. And we thought for sure in that moment that Andy was going to be torn a new one, which she wasn't. And then we see that he has also brought Pruitt in to talk to him. And so because we've had this build up all the time, we thought, okay, he's going to say, hey, sign your retirement papers, deuces. But really, Ripley brought him in to say, you know what? You're not connecting with your station. And although you're looking for great change and to have a successful house, you need to connect with your people, because you're not. So he needed advice about what he should do to connect. And Ripley says you got to do meal times, and he kind of rolled his eyes. What else you got? And you have to take an interest in the team outside of work, and you have to figure out who the glue of the team is. And I was like, oh, I know you're going to say it's Andy. I want it to be Maya, but we all know it's Andy.
Yeah. She's been, she has seniority, and her dad's been the captain for so long. So I think she was just a shoo-in. But seeing Sullivan like a little nervous, I was like, what's going on here? The fact that he was making this attempt to be nice after last week, like screaming at her.
Yeah.
But he didn't even know how to genuinely do that, and started talking about his smoothie making.
Yeah. When he was talking to Jack and Vic.
Yeah, he was the way he bonds is talking about how he makes smoothies on the weekends. I thought that was really funny. But I always enjoy seeing Sullivan on screen.
And we have more of that in News and Gossip. Tsahai's pick for News and Gossip. I thought it was really funny because it was really throwing Jack and Vic off. Like, what? I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what are you saying to us? This is so random, and you could feel his hesitation. Like, how's it going with life? How do you spend your spare time?
But have you had that happen to you before? Like someone that's been super mean to you for a long time, and then they suddenly switch up. You're like, wait a minute now, what's going on here? Because you don't know if that's part of their game.
Right. Like, are you trying to trick me?
Exactly. That's what it feels like. It doesn't come off genuine. Yeah.
Right. Like, you're trying to get some info from me that you're going to use against me and stab me in my back.
Exactly.
And especially when it's someone who perhaps, because it's such a a business-like relationship, all of a sudden it's like your boss says to you, maybe they've never had a real conversation with you, says, hey, let's go for some wine. Like, wait, what?
Well, huh?
Like, if I have this wine, will I get fired?
Exactly.
Right? Like,
yeah.
what's the twist on this? But it was really cute to watch.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to talk about Pruitt as well. So Pruitt, I think, really is the glue of Station 19. And although he's not there all the time, he really knows how to run the station.
Definitely.
So even kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is that he is also the glue in his family. And his family consists of also Ryan and Ryan's dad, Greg. And to find out that he used to like basically save Greg all the time really helped me with Greg's storyline, which we'll get to shortly.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the children have their own separate relationship, and then to see that the parents had a separate relationship, which it was great to see that, but both relationships involved caretaking. So like Andrea took care of Ryan, and then here it is, Pruitt took care of Greg. So it was interesting to see that dynamic and in both the parents and the kids.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely was. Let's move on to them as well. So Ryan, Andy, Greg, and Pruitt. So we see first that Ryan and Andy are having coffee and they're waiting to meet Greg, who's 45 minutes late. And you could really see, like, they also have their own bond. And it was almost like they wanted to talk about them, but there was a greater issue to talk about, which was Greg. And she was there to support him. And I thought it was just so sad. Like, you could see the disappointment that, hey, this guy doesn't ever show up, and why am I sitting here for 45 minutes?
Yeah.
And he, again, doesn't show up.
Yeah, it reminded me of all those memes on Instagram about people who had, like, deadbeat dads.
Yeah.
And, like, you like, people make jokes about how your dad never comes to pick you up, and that's exactly what we saw happening with Ryan today. And Andy, you know, I think he was just so vulnerable in that moment, and all she wanted to do was protect him and take care of him. So to see that them be that way with each other, it just gave it put a different layer on their relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And then Greg shows up at the station house, and he's all beaten up and in bad shape, and they're like, what's going on here? First of all, Ryan also tends to show up a little bit later, and he just thinks that his dad is doing this for sympathy and to, like, one-up him and to try to get back in with him.
When you initially saw Greg, what did you think happened?
I thought for sure he got beat up. I thought for sure he owed money from last episode, and those gangsters found him and beat him up.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the same thing. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I really thought that he was lying initially.
Right, because that's all we've known of him. And kudos to the actor, because we believe that that's your character already in 2 episodes.
And I feel like he and Ryan kind of look alike. Like the casting was perfect on this. Like, he really looks like he could be Ryan's dad.
Yeah, they do. They look like they could be related. So we get a story from Greg saying he was basically the savior of the day. He saved a young kid from being beat up by these 2 thugs at the mall. And so he basically took the brunt of the beating, and no one believed him in that moment. And then what also gave me pause was because he didn't want to then go to the hospital.
Right, that was
right. So if you didn't do anything wrong, like, why are you refusing to go to the hospital and signs the medical record and says, hey, I'm not going?
It made me think. I was like, oh no, Greg's a drug addict and he's trying to hide, like, drug usage or something like that. That's where my mind went, because it's like, if you're in pain, why not go to the hospital? Especially getting a free ride, you don't have to pay for an ambulance. So I was like, what's going on here?
I felt what went through my mind was, oh, he's on the run, which we end up finding is true. And I thought that he was going to get caught somewhere in the hospital. But he ends up going to the hospital because he has a fight with Ryan, and he's trying to tell Ryan that he thinks that family is important. And he talks about his mortality. And then he basically says he got into some trouble in Florida. And he didn't say the words, I'm a fugitive, but he's running from something.
Yeah.
Which your son is a police officer, so how's that going to work?
I know, and the way he phrased it, Ryan was like, so are you confessing to me? And he was like, no, I deliberately did not let you know all the details. So it's like he's trying to protect Ryan, but trying to open up to him.
Yeah.
And it's hard to open up to somebody that the things that you're going to say to them, they are going to judge you no matter what.
Yeah. And, not only being judged, but also for someone that has not been dependable, someone that doesn't keep their word, someone who really, like Andy said when she confronted him, you've never been a parent for him. You've never just shown up and been there for him. And he has issues because of that. He has trust issues because of that. He brings these issues into his relationships because of this broken trust. And for him, Ryan, to actually hear Andy say all that stuff and realize that in that moment, because we've talked about this a lot on our show, where Andy has issues in her relationships with men, but in her relationship with Ryan, she's not the only problem now that we're seeing. They're both bringing some baggage to the table, and Ryan is just now realizing that she thinks that that's what his baggage is, which it probably is.
Yeah, but I feel like it confused me a little bit because I feel like in the times that we've seen them together as their romantic relationship grows, he's been open with her. So I don't remember seeing any specific examples of where he wasn't trusting of her. Even though I feel like he should have been a little bit wary of Andy at times because she's a little shifty sometimes with her romantic relationships.
But I also think, too, that the back and forth that they've done and the reason that it's been a back and forth is because Andy hasn't fully committed, which has triggered his trust issues
with her.
And although he still loves her, coming back to Seattle and moving right beside her and all of that, he clearly loves her, but he still has his own issues to work out for sure. I wanted to talk about the aid car. So, and in that, talk about Andy and Maya. I think in this episode, we really saw the old Andy and Maya where you see why they're friends and you see that they have a close bond. You didn't see that underlying, like, competitive, but I think it was because they were on aid cart together and they were both able to help other people so they can keep themselves aside.
I agree. I think people assume aid car is supposed to be easier, and what we found in this episode was most of their calls were actually very physically demanding. It's where they had to show not only their mental strength but their physical strength as well. And yes, we know Maya is a former Olympian, but here we have Andy, who's a firefighter, and she's just as strong. So that was great to see them work together that way.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And I think the second call with the hiker really showed about not just like girl power, that if you train to do your job, it doesn't matter who you are, you can do your job.
Right.
And when Andy mentioned, we did all the work and we carried this guy up the hill and we went down the hill and all that stuff, and then they get all the glory. And, it's really relevant in today's day and age. It's really, really relevant.
And this wasn't the first time I've heard her say something like that, and I find it interesting because she did admit when she was talking to Sullivan that she loves her job. But so to me, it's interesting that she also wants to be validated by others and acknowledged by others. I sometimes think that if you loved your job so much, you really don't need outside people to pat you on the back.
Yeah, but do you still feel that way, especially in a male-dominated field like firefighting?
Maybe, I'm not a firefighter, so I can't say, but I think for her being so adamant about being a great firefighter, it's just the fact that she wants outside validation from others because she's very self-sufficient. It surprises me that that's something that she's looking for.
Okay, that's fair. Let's talk about Ben and Miller a little bit. And just what was interesting about this episode was they talked about some alone time. So pre the reveal of what was going on with Miranda, they talked about how they really both, Dean said that he really appreciates his alone time. And Ben is basically like, I have a lot of alone time right now, and talked about personal space. And I thought it's so interesting because oftentimes we talk about things to people, but we don't really know what's going on with them. And all of those things are things that Ben was dealing with that Miller had no idea at that moment
Right.
that he was dealing with.
Yeah. And the fact that he was holding it in, you could see him like at work. Everybody's starting to notice now.
Yeah.
So it's funny because you try to hide things, but it's still seeping out in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I was also surprised of? This is a total side note. We learn and we've been told many a time that Vic can't keep a secret. So when they were talking about the swagger and Travis was like, oh, you're looking really swaggery or whatever that they were saying. And she was able to keep that secret from them.
Well, maybe it's that she can't keep other people's secrets, but she can keep her own secrets. Maybe that's what her thing is.
Maybe that's what it is.
Because she called somebody else out in a previous episode for having the sex swagger, and here it is. Dean is like he smelled it on her, and then Travis jumped in talking about his own swagger, which you know what, I'm happy for him because last episode it was he was a little nervous about that, but he and Grant seem to be in the swing of things. Literally.
Yeah, they're on the same page, which I love because he's saying he's loving all the extra time that they're spending together. So they've definitely, come together and gone on the same page. And then, so leads us to Ben, Dean, and Jack. And I just thought that whole thing was so special. So after the reveal and knowing that Ben is spending all this time working and running and living at the firehouse, just to have his back like that, like inviting him into your home. And you saw Ben when he walked in and he saw the water. It was almost like water therapy. Like you could see the relief, like I have somewhere where I can be. And then when they pan to, he doesn't have to run alone. It's like, oh, see.
That was very sweet.
Your friends are there for you, and your friends are often your family. And I just thought that was amazing.
It's kind of like no man is an island, even though you live on a houseboat.
Ooh, that was good.
Thanks.
That was good. I like that, Tsahai.
We get deep here on the Station 19 after show.
All the way deep. All the way deep.
No, but they reminded me, I was like, oh, they're going to be like the Golden Girls now, minus a few, but the three of this, like the three amigos living together, I think it's going to be very therapeutic for them, for all of them. But what's going on with Jack and this sleeping issue?
I was going to get to that.
Okay.
So we have a bunch of issues that were revealed. So with Ben, his reveal was the breakup of him and Miranda. And then we see Jack, and Jack had that flashback from the fire, and it has trauma from it, which now all makes sense because when he was coming over to Dean's house all the time and like not sleeping and rearranging stuff at 3 a.m, we're like, well, what's going on with you? And I thought originally was he just didn't want to be alone because he was brought up in a foster house where people were always around. And I think that's part of it. But I think the bigger part of it is that he has PTSD. And so when he said, and I can't remember the name of it, it's something that was, when they pull it on their jacket and they
like
say,
emergency.
Yeah, that they're in trouble. And he thought it was ringing. And he was like, well, how long has this been ringing? And they were like, it hasn't. I was like, oh, so this is what's going on. This is why you haven't been sleeping.
Right, and the fact that Sullivan noticed it as well, and Vic noticed it as well. I was like, oh, I felt like that was a good sign. They saw something was wrong, and I wonder if they're familiar with this. Like, is this something that many firefighters experience? So they're like, uh-oh, we see the signs. I was hoping that was it.
Yeah, I don't think so yet. But I think that, like you said, they're going to be really therapeutic for each other because we have Dean from last week who likes his own space, now has 2 guys with him, and then Jack in his reveal, and then Ben in his reveal. So I think they're all going to be able to help each other in different ways.
Yeah. And friends together.
Right, which is interesting too because we have the 3 guy friends and the 3 girlfriends.
Yeah.
And they support each other as a unit, but also as like individuals.
And even the interaction between Vic and Jack was weird to me. Like I don't remember seeing them interact often.
They don't.
So and then not only this was my first time really seeing them have a conversation one-on-one, but then she asked him something very personal, like about her romantic and sex life. So to go straight there from not really talking personally to bam, help me with this guy problem.
But haven't you ever done that where you ask someone who's not in your inner circle because they don't know anything about you, they can give you advice and you can just walk away with it and it not affect your day-to-day and there be no reveal? Because here's what did happen is he's the one that knows who her new guy is.
Yes, he saw the name.
He saw the name on the phone.
So they're gonna be very close down. They're gonna go from not being tight to being real tight now.
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be tight because his face was I'm not impressed face. And when he was like, oh, your time, and he gave the phone, he acted like he didn't see that it was Ripley.
I think he didn't say it then, but remember, Victoria was one of the first people that was very judgmental when she found out about Jack and Andrea having a relationship. She really let it be known that she wasn't here for it. So I think he's like, aha, but
which is what I'm saying is that he's not going to be here for it either.
Yeah,
he's not going to be here, and especially because it's everyone's boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that dynamic is going to be really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've covered anything. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
No.
Oh, we should talk about Andy finally going to talk to Sullivan.
Yes, it was interesting. I didn't know what was going on in that conversation, and she left a little hot and bothered.
You thought so?
Her reaction was strange. I didn't know she was like flattered. I didn't know she was like relieved. Her reaction kind of threw me off a little bit.
I thought her reaction was, oh, thank God I am keeping my job. And thank God I've been trying to be the one, but you look like you were choosing Maya as the one. And now I realize that you think I'm the glue, I'm the one for the station. Like, I felt it was more relief rather than hot and bothered.
No, I think she was also confused like I was, because she was like, did he asked me, my boss asked me to go to coffee with him. Is that a date? Like, I think it just, for someone, again, going from not being personal at all to suddenly like, hey, let's get coffee, it probably threw her off as well.
Yeah, but I think it's that more than the hot and bothered part. But I didn't get that at all. But we'll see. We'll get into some predictions.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically was pleading for a job, and what I think is so interesting about Andy is that she just always jumps in. Like, she's a talker and not a listener.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading something, and I'm sure it's out there all the time somewhere, but where that's part of the problem of communication is when you talk not to listen, but just to reply. And she just like went out there. She's like, I love my job, and I did this, and I'm great at this, and I did this and this and this and this and this. And that's why, like, I will fight for my job, basically, is what she was saying.
Right.
And then he just looked at her and said, you know what? I was unfair too.
Right.
And so I thought about reprimanding you, and I thought about taking your strike, but I realized that we were both in the wrong. And I thought that actually is a big thing for a boss to say to a subordinate. And I also thought, wow, he had one conversation with Pruitt and was ready to make all these changes. Like, oh, I'm going to be more open. I'm going to try to talk to my staff and my crew. And
I really wish we would have seen that conversation happen, because it would have kind of put a close on the anger that Sullivan had towards Pruitt about the wife dying. So I would have loved to have seen that conversation between the two of them.
You're talking about Ripley.
Yes.
Yeah, Ripley and
Ripley
Sullivan.
And Sullivan.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. I would have loved to see that conversation. So
and who knows? We might see it in a flashback.
Hopefully.
But I also thought it was great that he talked about his expectations for himself and his crew, and really wanting to get respect, and finding out that it's Andy's respect, who he's been the hardest on since he gotten there, that he actually needs. And if he has Andy's respect, then everyone else is going to respect him as well.
We'll see, because that was very interesting. I don't know. We'll get into some predictions. But one thing I do want to say is we have so many shows here that we'd love to talk to you about. So, hey, AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel, and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. And for now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yes, and guys, you can also find us on Spotify, so you can take us on your ride to work if you like.
Yes.
Let's get into some news and gossip now. such news and such gossip, especially coming from you.
Yes.
So one of the things that I love about Station 19 is that all of their actors are really active on social media. So make sure you guys follow Station 19 because they really come up with some good stuff.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So one picture that I wanted to pull up was basically of Andy and Travis. Oh, we can do that one too. Let's do that one. So this is super cute. So you see Maya gets caught on a mini break right now, and she's having some snacks, and it says, at Library Nerds, we love that you voted as much as she loves snacks, which is really cute. And then this is the one I was originally talking about. So here we see Andy and Travis, and the best medicine is happiness. Also, don't forget your weekly dose of Station 19 new episode, which was today.
Cute.
And they look adorable.
Adorable.
Like super, super adorable. I love it. We have the 3 hunks in a row, the 3 new besties
Yes.
after this episode. And it said, Emily Cookie was voting hard today, just like these dudes were working hard last week. And then hashtag when we all vote. And I just thought, the 3 hunks, the 3 new besties, why not? Then I thought we had a really fun interview that Boris did an interview as well as Ben did an interview. And oh, this is yours.
Yes. So Boris did a takeover today of the Station 19 Instagram account, and we just have a little snippet of some of his slides.
That's right, it's a takeover. I'm taking over Station 19's Instagram account for the day. You spend the day with me until tonight when the show airs at 9 p.m. Let's go!
So he was picking up his kids from school, and then he felt sad after they were all gone out of the car, and he was lonely. We see his dog, Max, and we also see him
Sitzen. Auf geht's. Come on.
speaking German to Max and having him do some training. And then we see Boris playing tennis, which made me love him even more, and a shot of this beautiful water that he wanted to leave us with. So we kind of got a full idea of what his day is like. I felt like I was there with him.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If we have the video, we can move on. And I guess we don't. So we can move on to some fire facts then.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. So here we have.
I want to see Ben and Bailey together and happy as
Yeah.
a fan of the show. But I'm a military kid. My dad was in the Navy, and I love that we're telling the story of how hard it is for the families of first responders and military people who put their lives on the line for other people. I love that they're telling the story of how hard it is. So I love that they're telling the story, but at the same time, I don't want them to have problems.
Mom and Dad break up.
Yeah,
you know?
don't break them up. And it's going to be interesting to see how. Because she swears it's just a sabbatical, it's not a divorce, and he's convinced this is the first step to divorce.
First step to divorce.
Do you know how long this storyline, this arc is going to last? Is this through the whole rest of the season?
I'll let you know when I know.
Okay.
So it's a surprise. I think that it's a surprise for all of us, and I think that's a good place to end it. But his character thinks it's divorce time.
See, but he didn't say that in tonight's episode, so maybe he's alluding to something we haven't
No,
seen
but
yet.
he said it in last week's episode. He was taking it serious. I know that you totally want.
No, because
the
I'm
optimist.
not gonna put, as we see with marriages, people sign divorce papers and say they want to get a divorce and then they end up not. So I'm just being optimistic because that's what happens in real life. It can happen.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't want them to break up at all either. I'm just thinking like for the show in Shondaland, it's possible that they're going to be broken up at least for the season. This was another interview that I thought was interesting that Boris did.
Amazing. I've always wanted to be a part of that family, and it sort of never really happened until now. She's incredible. She's a groundbreaking storyteller in our industry. She's a trailblazer. She has colored the TV in a way that represents the world that we live in.
Facts.
And I think that was very timely, and she has sort of steered this gigantic ship in the right direction.
As a product of the world, you probably understand that better than most, too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's black Germans. We come in all kinds of different shapes and colors, and I think it's an asset if we can depict these characters the way we see them in the world and not whitewash everything.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think now you can't do it without anymore.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It doesn't resonate.
No.
It's not real.
No, I mean it's all about representation.
Real, yeah.
It's about representation. Look at Wonder Woman. Look at Black Panther. It's a statement about representation.
Totally.
And people want to see themselves. Little kids want to see themselves.
Yeah, they do.
On the screen.
So powerful. I loved it. Loved that interview and loved
So handsome.
what he was saying. My favorite segment, Fire Facts. We're going to move on. Some fun fire facts as usual. So my first fire fact is U.S. fire departments respond to an average of 1 home fire every 86 seconds. So if you can imagine that, that's quite a bit.
Wow.
Second fact, according to the National Fire Department, the National Fire Prevention Association, only 1 in every 3 American households has an actual developed and practiced escape plan. So guys, get your families together, think of a plan, because you think it's not going to happen to you, and then it does. So have a plan, an escape plan. It's really, really important. And then I want to talk to all of our apartment dwellers like myself. Apartment fires tend to happen between 3 and 10 p.m., and it's an 85% time frame. And there's different things that you have to do when you live in an apartment versus when you live in a house. So first thing they say to do is make sure that you don't prop open the exit or stairway doors. So those fire doors that they have in your apartment building, they're closed for a reason. Keep them closed. You should speak to your apartment manager if you see a damaged smoke alarm or a fire extinguisher or an emergency light that has been burnt out, because fix it in the moment so that it's not an issue later. They also say be prepared. So they want you to count the number of doors that are between your apartment and the nearest fire exit, because when you're calm, you'll know, and in an emergency, you'll remember. Know where all the fire exit doors and stairs are on your floor, and learn your building evacuation plan if they have one. And if they don't, create your own and practice your escape plan for yourself for your specific apartment. And then the last thing they say is, stay calm. If your door feels warm to the touch, do not attempt to open it. Call 911 and tell the dispatcher your apartment number and that you can't open your door. All of those things help firefighters get to you quicker. Wanted to pull up something that Kim Kardashian posted just about an hour ago. Guys, we are sending not just thoughts and prayers to Calabasas, but right at this moment, Calabasas is being evacuated because, again, in California, as we've talked about, #1 fire area, it's on fire. So that's her showing that where she lives. She was on a private plane. She was landing and she was filming. And she says, pray for Calabasas. Just landed back home and had 1 hour to pack up and evacuate our home. I pray everyone is safe. So this is happening right now, guys. These firefighters are working hard. So let's send some good energy to them and prayers to them. And any way you can help, try to help.
Crazy. So much is going on.
Yeah, so much is going on in California right now. So yeah, fires are real. It would be really great and fun if we could get a actual firefighter here for Fire Facts segment. I'm gonna try to work on that.
Yes.
Guys, it's been a lovely time. Continue to reach out to us. I do think that we had a couple of shout outs.
We do. Thank you to Dawn Fan Forever, Brooke Davis, Renee Deborah, Faba, and Gemini 3 for commenting on last week's episode. Please continue to.
Gemini 3, you're my favorite. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Linda Antwi. You can follow me, reach out to me, send me info, talk to me on YouTube, anywhere, and at Linda is so girly.
And I'm Tsahai Wilson. You can find me at Say Hi Tsahai. That's SayHiTsahai on Instagram and Twitter. Let me know what you thought of this week's show, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.